All right, let's go ahead and get started today with today's Wellness Wednesday. I'm excited to have everybody here with us, and I'm really excited about the topic. This is one I think we should particularly enjoy. So today's topic is it's all about the attitude. So we can't help but have a positive attitude about our webinar today. Our presenter is Lisa Lowe. She's presented with us here before. She's a longtime Orient employee, and you may recognize her from some of the health assessments that you have attended. She's going to take us through how to work on improving our attitude and being more optimistic, and also give us some of the health benefits that goes along with that. Before we turn the time over to Lisa, of course, we have the housekeeping as far as the points. It is June, if you can believe it, and everybody's health promotion points will be due here at the end of this month. So I know we're excited about earning our points from participating today, and those will be applied to your account here at the later today. You'll find those on your account. And then also, we'd love to have you interact with us with the questions or chat panel. So they are right there in front of you. And feel free to ask any questions, make comments, anything you want to do to add to the presentation today. We really do enjoy it when you do that. So with all of that being said, wanting to introduce Lisa. Lisa, can you hear me okay?
I sure can. Can you hear me?
Yes, good, good. I always have to hold my breath right there and make sure. But go ahead and just jump on in, Lisa, and then I'll probably interrupt you here and there throughout to ask questions or make comments, but I'm excited for what you have prepared for us today.
Sounds good. Thanks, Anne. I'm thrilled to be talking about something I'm constantly working on and that I'm passionate about, and I hope that today's webinar will give you a jump start to either continue looking for ways to be optimistic or the drive to start focusing on that more. So to start things off, I'd like to have you think about a question that you see there in front of you on the screen. And as you read over it and decide which answer best fits you, let me give you some background on the question itself. It comes from the life orientation test, which is used to assess individual differences in a general way when it comes to optimism versus pessimism. Now, this question is the basis in a good deal of research on the behavioral, affective, and health consequences of this personality variable. So as you read the question and decide on an answer, do you think you lean towards being more of an optimistic person, or does your attitude tend to be more pessimistic? I'm hoping that after I've shared some information with you today, that you will be inclined to maybe work towards being more optimistic. So whether you live in the best or worst of all possible worlds, it really depends on your point of view. And what we pay attention to and how we interpret or react to life situations is essentially up to us. And this is especially true when we think about the future. Because there is a lot that is unknown to us when it comes to our future, that can leave us relying a little bit on our imagination to fill in the gaps. And in our future thinking, we may be eternal optimists, imagining the perfect situation, or perhaps you're a diehard pessimist planning for the worst case scenario. Or we could fall somewhere else in between the two. But developing a more positive point of view can be one of the most important factors when it comes to determining a person's level of success and happiness in life. And of course, developing a more positive train of thought is easier said than done. But with a few basic tips, you can be well on your way to making that a reality.
Lisa,
First, understanding.
Oh, sorry, Lisa.
No, you're fine. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I just read an article this morning on this since I had it on my mind, and one of the points they made is that there's really room for all emotions, right? There's a purpose for negative emotions too, but whether you dwell in the negative or kind of hold on to the positive and try to come back to it, kind of makes a difference on whether you're optimistic or not. And I thought that was a good point. I mean, it doesn't mean we can never have a negative emotion or a negative view. It's just how long do we stay there, right?
I agree. Yeah, you have to experience all the emotions to be able to even notice the difference between the two. If you only concentrated on one thing, I don't know, that would be boring, right? You need a little negativity in your life to spawn you to be more positive. That's the way I look at it anyways. So.
Well, and I'm like, how do you know it's a good day unless you've had a bad day? You know, it kind of
Exactly.
highlights the good. So, absolutely.
I like that. I like that. So back to this understanding what optimism is, it can really help you begin to incorporate it into your way of thinking. When you're optimistic, you have hope, you feel hopeful, and you see things in a positive light, and you understand that you can and should and then will take action to change things. Optimists have a tendency to make lemonade out of lemons, or to see the glass as half full rather than half empty. And I feel that that's a really admirable quality and one that can positively affect your mental and physical health. Now, there was some research done that studied the correlation between optimism and pessimism when it came to healthy behaviors. And they took a group of men and women ages 65 to 80, and they found that optimism was directly related to results such as abstaining from smoking, moderate consumption of alcohol, the habit of walking briskly and performing regular physical activity, regardless of demographical factors, where you lived, or current mental or physical conditions and body mass. And some of the benefits of being optimistic from that study, and that stand out to me the most, are the ability to have a higher quality of life and a greater sense of well-being. Optimism is a tendency to expect good things in our future, and it's apparent that optimism is a mental attitude that heavily influences physical and mental health, as well as coping with everyday social, and working life. So research into the relationship between optimism and our overall well-being has shown me that maintaining a positive outlook is not only better for our minds, but also affects our body. And as I look at the differences between the optimistic and the pessimistic results, I'm definitely more inclined to want the better of those results on the optimistic side. Oh, go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna, yeah, I was just gonna say that this makes a lot of sense to me, because as we are thinking more positive, having more positive thoughts about the future, we are going to be more inclined to take better care of ourselves and maybe experience less chronic illness or disease as a result of those choices. We have a friend that my husband and I quietly refer to as Eeyore, because he's always a little like, everything's wrong. And I see just in his habits and how he lives, and, the things he has to complain about, it kind of takes a toll because of, where he tends to hang out weather-wise.
More on that other side.
Yeah. So anyway, I liked the results of this study. I thought it was pretty interesting and kind of made sense to me.
Yeah, it really kind of sparked something in me when I learned about that. So let's concentrate on this, positive attitude and some characteristics that are associated with it. And 3 that I wanted to highlight today. The first one being acceptance. Sometimes, despite our best efforts, circumstances just don't work out the way we want them to. And it's during these particular times that acceptance can help us learn from our mistakes. Acceptance can also help us maintain a better perspective, rather than exaggerating the situation and making it worse than it needs to be. And I like that. Resilience allows you to rebound from adversity rather than turning to an unhealthy coping mechanism, such as substance abuse or overeating, as some examples. A major component to resilience is the ability to maintain daily routines while coping with major setbacks. And I feel that staying consistent as much as we can with our schedules can be a great benefit to being able to adjust to life's little challenges. Now, gratitude, when you practice it, is an active, ongoing process that requires constant cultivation. It takes time to take the time to contemplate and enjoy the good aspects of your life. Or, like I say, take time to stop and smell the roses. Recognizing the good in our lives can really help a negative focus turn more positive. And when you apply these 3 principles of optimism, I feel it's really going to make a difference for you. And I know they will, because I've been working on incorporating them into my way of thinking more lately. And they've had a dramatic effect on how I view and react to different scenarios that pop up in my day-to-day adventures.
Yeah, I know when we had talked about this, I kind of shared with you a story that I might share here for a minute really quick. It's a little personal, and I wasn't sure if I'm embarrassed about it, but I'll just share it anyway. Um, like everyone, I mean, we all have different challenges in life, and one of ours was that my 14-year-old was born with a bunch of craniofacial problems. So he had like a cleft lip and palate, and he had some facial paralysis, and he was missing one of his ears. So anyway, I had this cute little baby all these years ago, and one day I was home folding laundry and listening to Dr. Laura on the radio, and at the same time feeling kind of, burdened with the challenge of this little guy. So for whatever reason, I think the topic of the day caused me to decide to call into the radio. So I called Dr. Laura and I got on her show. They put me on the air and I asked her, how do I help this little guy be okay? And I guess this acceptance reminded me of that. Like, how do I help him be okay and be resilient to this challenge? Because we can't change it, we can't fix it, and I didn't want it to like be this terrible thing that would impede, his success in life. And her answer was really brief and so profound to me, but she just said, he'll get his attitude from you. So if you act like it's the worst thing in the world, if you're embarrassed, if you're ashamed, if you, make it a really big deal, that's how he's going to view it. And if you act like it's okay and, make the best of it, then that's what he'll do too. And after that quick conversation with her, I've gone back to that many times over the years. Like, it's going to be okay, and it's all in our attitude, whether this is a big negative or perhaps maybe a positive in our world. So anyway, this slide kind of applied to that situation, and I was really glad to learn that lesson. Lisa,
Sorry, I think I lost you there for a second.
I was going to say, are you there?
Yeah, my screen went like blank.
Wait a second, what happened?
Lisa's having a panic attack really quick, but we're back.
I seriously was. I'm so sorry. I kind of freaked out there for a second.
No worries. No worries. I'm glad you're back with us. This is perfect. So
me too. I love that story, Anne, and I'm so glad you shared that, because I think it's a perfect example of how positive self-talk can be such a huge part of helping other people and helping ourselves be able to cope with things. And when I hear things like that, I feel an impulse to want to improve a little bit more on that, so that I don't know, that you can have that same positive effect no matter what you're starting with or dealing with. So some of you might be thinking, well, how do I get started on practicing more positive self-talk? And if you want to find success in being more optimistic, the best place to start is with positive self-talk. So I spent an entire semester in school learning about the value of this concept, and it was one of my favorite topics to study and learn about. This is a subject that I am quite passionate about, so I'd like to share with you some of the most important things that I learned about why we should practice positive self-talk every day. Now, self-talk in itself is just an endless stream of unspoken thoughts that run through your head. We have them throughout our day, and it influences how you feel about yourself and how you respond to events in your life. Self-talk is also something you do naturally throughout your waking hours, so people are becoming more aware that positive self-talk is a powerful tool for increasing your self-confidence and curbing negative emotions. Have you ever noticed that when you get up in the morning, your first thought is like, oh, I'm so tired, I don't want to get out of bed, and you're just thinking to yourself, this is not going to be a good day. And as you go throughout your day, that same thought just kind of lingers with you, and by the time you go to bed that night, it really did end up being not a very good day. Well, the brain has a way of focusing on things like that and sending signals to other parts of your brain to see that the thought has a follow-through action. And this is because you've activated something called the reticular activating system. And this is the part of the brain that hones in on and remembers things that you're focused on. So as an example, we use our reticular activating system when we play the alphabet game in the car when you're like on a road trip. And you tell yourself, oh, I'm looking for the letter R. And as you're scanning the billboards and license plates and street signs, that particular letter is highlighted and it almost seems to jump out at you because you have been focusing on it. Another example of your RAS in action would be when you're looking to buy a car or you have recently purchased a new car. All of a sudden, as you're driving around, you begin to see them everywhere. And that's because you have been thinking and concentrating on that type of car. So it's amazing to me what the brain can do when you give it something specific to focus on. Now, how this relates to positive self-talk is that the reticular activating system, it's kind of become my secret weapon over the years, and it'll help you too as you focus on your thoughts in a more positive nature. But let me share with you a few ways how you can do this. One of the things I used to do every morning before my kids would go to school, I would tell them to have a good day. Now, for me to say that, it didn't necessarily mean that just by hearing it that they'll have a good day. They actually had to repeat it back to me. I will have a good day. And then the thought became planted and activated, and the reticular activating system worked to keep that thought present in their brain. That didn't mean that their day wouldn't be without challenges. It just gave them a little extra help to stay positive as they went about their day. So it can be a very simple process of finding something that you want to focus on each day, whether that's through the form of a quote you read, or if it's something personal you've written down on a sticky note and you've attached to your bathroom mirror. I used to have a word, just a single word that I would repeat as I would study for a test, and then I would say it one last time before I took that test. And for me, it was a way to keep me solid in remembering things as I took the test, and I felt that it gave me the confidence that I needed to do. Another way you can turn on your reticular activating system, and this one's my favorite, is to repeat a daily affirmation or a mantra to yourself. It can be as long or as short as you would like it to be, but it will.
I think maybe we lost Lisa again. Well, Lisa was going to take us into this cute little video about self-affirmations and positive affirmations. And when we had talked about this, I had said, I feel like this is a little corny to tell yourself positive things in the mirror, but this little girl made it so cute that I'm like, okay, maybe it is okay. Anyway, we're going to show this cute little video clip. And Lisa, did we have you back? Does it sound like you're back?
Yeah.
Oh, good.
No, I'm here.
Good. Oh, good. It sounded like we lost you for a second. So I'm gonna hit play on this video. Does that work?
That's great.
Okay. 1 second if I can do it. There we go.
I hope everybody could hear that. I was having a hard time hearing it.
I got some comments on the chat that there was no audio. Can someone tell us if they hear us now? I heard it. I'm not sure why it went and gone out. It wasn't as cute without the words. Okay, it sounds like everyone can hear us again. So I apologize for that audio issue. We're struggling with some of this today.
We are. This isn't going as smoothly as we'd hope. We're going to stay positive, though.
That's right.
Well, you can find that video on YouTube if you just type in little girl daily affirmation. You'll be able to see it and hear what she says. But she's so energetic, and she really kind of just gets herself fired up, and that's what I like about it. We should be doing the same thing. One last benefit to practicing positive self-talk, it's said that people who can master positive self-talk are thought to be more confident, motivated, and productive. So always remember this one simple rule. Don't say anything to yourself that you wouldn't say to anyone else. Be gentle and encouraging with yourself. If a negative thought enters your mind, evaluate it rationally and then respond with affirmations of what is good about you. And that's your take-home message right there.
Lisa, I love that. I was telling you that I tell my kids that because they'll say like something derogatory about themselves. And I'm like, would you say that to anyone else? You wouldn't talk that rude to someone else. So why are you saying that about yourself?
Right.
I think it's good for all of us to remember.
Yeah, I think we're all guilty of getting caught up in that sometimes. So avoiding negative self-talk. There will be days when you feel more negative than positive in your self-talk, and if you can recognize that and the common forms of negative self-talk, then you'll be able to avoid or correct it easier. And there are 4 categories there that you can see that we can fall into when it comes to negative self-talk. So the first one is filtering, and sometimes we magnify or focus on the negative aspects of a situation, and then we filter out all of the positive ones. For example, if you've had a great day at work where you completed all your tasks ahead of time and you were complimented for doing such a thorough and speedy job, but when you got home, you had a plan to do even more tasks, but something prevented you from getting everything done, and you could only concentrate on what you didn't get done instead of all that you did earlier that day. Then there's personalizing. When something bad happens, you automatically blame yourself. And when you hear that, like an example is if you have a date night or a night out with some girlfriends or something, and you hear that that evening out with friends has been canceled, you assume that the change in plans is because no one wanted to be with you. You internalize it, it's your fault, and everything is always your fault. Now, catastrophizing, this is when you instantly anticipate the worst. You know, you're driving through the coffee shop on your way to work and they get your order wrong, and automatically you think that the rest of your day is going to be a disaster. This is the category when you really go over the top in your thinking. And then polarizing is when you see things only as either good or bad, and there's really no middle ground. You feel you have to be perfect or you're a total failure. And like Anne said earlier when we were talking about this, she says, it's an A or an F, all or nothing.
That's right. That's right. If I was a teacher, you either have to earn an A or an F, and there's no in between, which isn't very fair.
Right. No, I think we've all experienced some of those negative thoughts in all of these different categories, but I see the value in being able to recognize when we're doing that, and when we can see it, then it's going to be easier to get ourselves away from being pulled into the trap of thinking this way. Making the change to think more positively is another great place to start. You know, if you're ready to make the change and steer yourself to be more positive in your thinking, and you want to become more healthy and optimistic, first try to identify those areas of your life that you can approach in a more positive way. Let's take some of those negative situations and put a positive spin on it. And by starting small and focusing on some specific things that can be accomplished, then you can make that happen. So here is a quick rundown of how to get started with that. The first one is that you're going to want to start your day positively. And whether you're doing that daily affirmation or, you know, phrase or whatever, then negative thinkers will tend to begin a day thinking something will go wrong, but instead focus on the aspects of your day that could go right and what you are looking forward to about that day. Then the next one is to check yourself. Periodically through the day, just stop and evaluate how your thinking is going. Are you thinking happy thoughts, or are you having a bad day and focusing more on the bad things? If you find that you have negative thoughts, try to find a way to put a positive spin on them and then turn them around. And when you can do that, then you open yourself up to have more humor in your life. Give yourself permission to smile or laugh about those hard times. When you seek humor in everyday happenings, you can just laugh at life and feel a little bit less stressed. Then following a healthy lifestyle is another great way to do this. When you aim to exercise for about 30 minutes a day on most days of the week, you can also break it up into 10-minute sections if you don't have, a full 30 every day. But exercise can positively affect your mood, and it reduces stress. Following a healthy diet is also a great way to help fuel your mind and your body, and you'll learn techniques to manage stress by practicing both those things.
Lisa, this is something we talked about as being a big deal for both of us, and we had a webinar on,
right.
Physical and mental health of, and exercise, I guess, a few weeks ago or months ago.
Right.
But I just think this one can't be underestimated. When you start your day positively and do something good and active and move your body, those chemicals to your brain it just really helps you be able to have a more positive spin on things. You laugh easier. All these things come easier when you're taking care of your body.
I agree with you 100% about that. This one right here just speaks volumes to me, because I have noticed a definite difference when I've incorporated some exercise and eating well into my life. I do have a direct result coming from that I can recognize, and I've learned to embrace that. So it's very important to me for that one, for sure. And then after you've finished following a healthy lifestyle, surround yourself with positive people. Make sure that the people in your life are positive, and when they're supportive, you can depend on them, and they give you helpful advice and feedback, and it really just kind of buoys you up. Where negative people maybe could increase your stress level a little bit and make you doubt your ability to manage stress in healthy ways. And this one goes along with that healthy lifestyle one for me, because I find a lot of strength in surrounding myself with the same people that have similar interests in me. So group fitness classes have been fantastic for me, and being able to pick up on positive vibes and just feeling the energy from other people, because we share the same passion of exercise. But you can find that anywhere. There are tons of people everywhere that are positive. So gravitate towards those people, because they'll really make a difference in your life. Now, when you do something that you love, you will find that it makes you happy, and when you continue to practice what you love, you feel uplifted. Whether it's pursuing a new hobby or a creative outlet, try something you have always wanted to do and allow yourself to succeed at it. Don't think about the negatives or how you will fail. And then when you can see a situation a different way, it becomes more positive thinking, and the outlook matters. By assessing a situation you had previously viewed as something negative and thinking about how you can approach it more positively, you can learn to adopt a healthier outlook on life. And I really like that.
Lisa, these are all great values. I have a few questions coming in, and I think this might be a good place to quickly ask you before you do your final slide.
Sure.
Okay, so first of all, we were talking about, when you're talking about having a positive attitude, and that study where it was you're either an optimistic or optimist or a pessimist. Someone had asked kind of about the chicken and the egg. Are you an optimist because you're choosing, to have a good attitude, or can your life situation kind of turn you into a pessimist? I think that's kind of why you're listing all these values, right? Is because that's going to help you control that. But do you have any comments on that?
No, I think that's a great question too, because you can approach that from both ways, and I think you can still find a positive, no matter which way you're coming from it. But when you have a situation like that, it's just really good to remember that you do have control, and if something bad happens to you first, you have a way to keep it turned around to a more positive thing. But if things are positive all the time for you, and then all of a sudden something negative. I think it just kind of plays on each other, and I think you can make it work either way. But I love that question.
Yeah, I think it's kind of like sometimes you say you control the people think that it just happens to us, right? Kind of like the weather just happens to us. But I think our attitude is somewhere where we control the weather, regardless of the weather, right? We can decide if it's a good day or a bad day. And it's kind of learning that and applying some of these principles to help us do that.
Exactly.
More.
Remind me when the snow comes again, Anna, that I can still be happy.
That's right. You can still be happy even in, January. The other one really quick, someone had asked a little bit about the spiritual side of their life as having that be a way they can face the storms, and then they also brought up forgiveness as another way to help us be more positive. And I know we don't have a lot of time to address that, but do you have any thoughts on those two concepts as well?
No, I'm a religious person, and so I do believe that there is some benefit in utilizing the things that you believe in and understand through religious practices. It can be a safety net for you sometimes, because you know you have something to fall back on and rely on. And so I love that was brought up, because I think it does make a huge difference if you've exhausted all your other avenues and you've really tried to do things mentally just by yourself. I think if you have that fallback of the religious aspect of things, it can almost just be that extra safety net for you and help you get things turned around the way it should be.
Yeah, I think if being optimistic means having hope, then I think we can use our faith as a source of that hope, right? So
beautifully said. Yes.
Well, I know our time is up, but do you want to take us through this final slide here?
You bet. Yeah, just being able to distinguish between the positive and negative talk will allow you the ability to learn how to turn negative thinking into positive thinking. And I would encourage you to use that reticular activating system to practice positive thinking every day. If you tend to have a negative outlook, don't expect to become an optimist overnight. But with practice, eventually your self-talk will contain less self-criticism and more self-acceptance. And you may also become less critical of the world around you, and that's a really good thing. I just love the state of mind when you are being generally optimistic. You're better able to handle everyday stress in a more constructive way. And the process of turning negative thinking into positive thinking is simple, but it does take time and practice, because you are creating a new habit. So I know you had some examples in a slide at the end here that kind of give you a way of turning things around. But I just love when you are the control of your thoughts, you have that powerful tool, and you can do really some serious good with it. So I hope that you'll find some value in the information from today's webinar. Find a way to put a more positive thinking into practice. And gosh, just thanks for spending a little of your time with us today. Have a great Wednesday, everyone. Stay happy and healthy, but most of all, positive.
Thank you, Lisa, so much for this. And this webinar will be available for download if you want the slides. It'll be on your portal at myorient.com. And then also a copy of the video will be available there as well if you want to view it later. And we just want to thank you guys again for joining us. Next month, we have Dr. Henriksen with us, and we're going to be talking about gut health. I'm excited for that different spin on another way to live healthy for our next month's webinar. So thanks for joining, everyone. Have a great and positive day.